as somebody who dated a manipulator before, this right here is manipulation. Let's talk about the Cory stuff, man. Now, when this news hit, I was actually like at a Love Island. What is it called? A Love Island like season finale watch party. That's where I was at. Okay. So when the Cory stuff hit, that's where I was. I looked on my phone. They're like, yo, I know people seen the Cory allegations, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, Cory got allegations, bro. This is nuts. All right, so I look over to my friend. He does YouTube, but he don't watch YouTubers like I watch YouTubers. So I told him, I'm like, bro, they said Cory got allegations. This is crazy. So, to my surprise, he knew who Cory was. He was like, nah, bro, they gotta, bro, do you believe it? I'm like, to be honest, I don't know. I gotta see what is going on with this. And then the video started hitting. First red flag I seen. Now, I'm not going to say, yeah, I'm going to say it's a red flag. I'm going to say it's a red flag. The first red flag I seen is making the video a trend. What would it say? Something avocado. And then it does the slow motion. Apparently, that's like a trend on TikTok. That's when I was like, what? Who edits a video to drum up and go on to a trend? Sometimes I see the people, they'll be like, what do they say? They'll follow a trend, like a trend sound, but they'll put like the words on there. That's one thing. Like, but to do that trend was kind of weird. So then like let me see if I could pull up the messages. Cause I think they took the TikTok down. But somebody gotta have them. Cory messages. Type it in on YouTube. See if we can find somebody who got it. She was talking like Cory was on some bacon avocado. That's what it is. So they were saying like bacon avocado. Yo, Cory did X, Y, and Z to me. And one thing I wish people would do are, yes, there are people who are abusive in this world, 100%. There are abusive people, but there's also people who will use people believing that people are abusers. They will use that to manipulate situations to an outcome that they would prefer. Like hitting, right? If you got a son and a daughter, not even, you can have two boys. My siblings did this because I was older than one of them. They would say situations happened a certain way for better treatment of them because they were smaller. You said the Xbox messages were fake because the account was made the same day. I think the account thing, I think that was they pulled up the Discord was made the same day. The Xbox account was real, I think. I don't know. I don't know what was real or fake. But even if you look at what was said, the thing about relationships is when you talk to people, especially through text message, and this is why I think people need to go to real therapy and not look up therapy terms and then go on the internet and try to diagnose people because you're not a professional. There are people who have master's degrees, went to school 8 years, 6 years to get these degrees and learn about these words: narcissist, manipulator, verbal abuse. These are words that have like certain meanings. Verbal abuse is not like, or abuse is like verbal abuse is like a pattern. If I turn to somebody random on the street that's like talking too loud and I say, yo, shut up, that's not verbal abuse. Now, if I follow them around all day and I say, yo, shut up, shut every time they. Now I'm verbally abusing them, and I think a lot of people, they take words that they hear. Narcissist is the big one of the 2020s. People are taking that word and they think anybody who does things in relative to how they feel personally, like if they dictate a situation to have them have the best outcome and that person disagrees with that, they will label them a narcissist. But that isn't necessarily the definition of a narcissist, right? So the first thing I seen was the video. And the thing that shocked me most about the video, she's laughing. I don't know if people don't know like social cues, but clearly he's joking. He's making a joke. And for all the, if you're not a Cory fan and you say, yo, that's something you should never joke about, blah, 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 I would get it. But if you are a Cory fan and then you watch that clip, Cory has made clips like that or made jokes like that in gameplays that he had. That's what made it so weird to me that like people couldn't fathom it being a joke. I think there was like Resident Evil when Shorty had the Resident Evil 7 Cory gameplay when Shorty was climbing out the she turned into the monster and climbed out the window. I think Cory like made a joke there about like a semi-sexual joke. I think in Scrutinized, was it Scrutinized? It was or maybe 12 Hours. One of them gameplay, he made like kind of the same joke. Where it's a play on like, it's a joke. So if you didn't accept those jokes, then you would have never supported like Cory in the first place. So I thought people were overblowing that, but there is a thing where people say like, yo, XYZ happened to me, this person did it. Then people take that microscope and they put it up to the person and they're like, I'm looking through everything through this lens. I'm looking. So when the girl came out, what I feel like happened was everybody started to view the things Cory did through the scope of, she said he's an abuser, instead of looking at it through the scope of, let me find out what happened. Right. So I'm trying to think. It's so hard to reference it without the actual messages for me to tell y'all. Hold up. Maybe I could go on. I know I can go on Twitter and find them. Let me see if I can find them on Twitter. Cory messages. All right. So like this chat, this backpedal, I think this was later on. So let's go here. Okay. I don't. I think this was one of the messages that blew up, right? So she says, okay, so what's up? So apparently there was some talking that happened before that. He asked, are you still seeing someone? That's a perfectly fine thing to ask. Why do you ask? She said, because I'm trying to F your life up some more. Now, being that she said I was abused, people are reading this like he's saying, yo, he wants to come back and destroy her life. Which, if somebody was actually an abuser, that might be how they talk, right? But that is not the only way this statement could be taken. Somebody says this. Imagine you have a bad breakup with somebody, right? Or a bad falling out with somebody. They take one thing one way, you take it a different way. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you destroyed my life, blah, 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 right? But then later on, y'all reconcile and it's like, yo, you know what? What you did wasn't that bad. I was really tweaking. I was young. Somebody might make a joke that if we're going to talk again, oh, you want to talk again because I'm going to destroy your life again. It's like, it's a joke that pertains to things that may have happened in the past. That doesn't make that person abusive. It doesn't mean that person wanted to actually destroy that person's life. It's a joke referencing how they felt shortly after the falling out happened. I'm pretty sure there's people in your life where you were extremely mad at them. You would have said they ruined your life. 6 months go by, you think about it, you're like, yo, it wasn't really that big of a deal. Y'all come back, y'all talk about it, and they may joke about, yo, you remember you used to hate me? That's literally how this could be taken. But people automatically jump to one way of taking it that way. This is why you really have to just let things play out and get more information before you make assumptions. He said, what? That was a joke, geez. I was just asking. Now, this is the part that really I didn't get, okay? She said, never heard you cuss before. That's why I'm thrown off. Now, if Cory was actually an abuser, if somebody was actually an abuser, listen to what she said threw her off. Not the fact that he wants to come destroy your life again. Clearly, she knew it was a joke too. It was the fact that she said, never heard you cuss before. That's why it threw me off. If you read the message, you'll see what her actual concern was about. But obviously, people jumped one way. And if you don't have a lot of life experience dealing with both sides of what could happen in this situation, I will understand why you jumped to that. And that's fine. Dr. 22 was good. People are saying the account was made the same day, so it isn't Cory. Even if it was, okay? Let's go to this one. I'm glad I'm the same. I don't F anymore. Double bummer. I've never seen this message. The difference between you and I, though, is that I don't do it with just anyone because I was abused. Okay, I did see this message. I'm not saying that for you to feel bad or whatever, but for you to understand. He said, I know you told me that. I didn't know I got lumped into that category with that person that did that. And this is another thing. Like if something's never happened to you before, let's take the abuse part and let's change it to cheating, right? Let's change it to cheating. And let's take having sex and let's change it to going to the club, right? Now, let's read this. People are like, yo, why would somebody not think you get put in that same category? I'm glad I'm the same. I don't go to the club anymore. The difference between me and you is that before, when somebody went to the club, I got cheated on. I'm not saying that for you to feel bad or whatever, but for you to understand why I didn't like you going to the club. I know you told me that. I didn't think I got lumped in with cheaters because I went to the club. But people don't never take a second to think like, what else could this actually mean besides what I'm being told it means? And this is, I've had people in my real life that they will cautiously do things so they don't get lumped in with people who have done certain things to you. Like, I thought I was maneuvering in a way where this person who did this to you this way and what we did, I thought I was trying to move in a way where you wouldn't just put us both together in the same box. I feel like that's what he's saying, which is very understandable. If somebody got cheated on before, there are going to be things that you do to make sure your actions don't get lumped in and judged the same way as the people who cheated. This is the same thing. Yes, this is a lot more serious than cheating, but it just shows you how people can assume, hey, the things I do, I didn't know that I'm in a box with that the people who did that to you because of what I did. And because I was being used to that for, I guess, the time when you told me how you felt was not real too. That's what, oh my goodness. Okay. Let me go back to these. He says, backpedal, you were never used for sex. I need to make sure that you understand that. I loved you. Like I said, I didn't have my stuff together, which is a big thing. If you want to take care of a family, take care of your wife, traditionally, the way the world tells you, a lot of people will look and say like, yo, Cory, you had, what was this? 08? I'm not 08, 2018. Some people would say like, yo, Cory, you had X amount of subs. You were probably making X amount of money. You could have did it. But some people don't know. Like, it's like having kids. They say you're never going to be ready. There's never a right time. There's never a right time to get in. Sometimes it's just the courage to do it. So some people just feel like they're not ready yet. And judging by the way she responds to some things, she didn't make it easy to feel ready either. Okay? That's another part that people don't really talk about. She said, you love me. How is that possible? This is the chat. As somebody who dated a manipulator before, this right here is manipulation. I'm trying to say everything that you did wasn't good enough. You should have did more, and you should come back and do more. You should make me feel better about how you felt about the situation. How I made you feel about our relationship wasn't good enough. You should have felt better about the situation I was present in. That's basically what I loved you. I tried to make it work. I wanted to be good to you, but the environment that I had with you was not conducive of being positive. That's what be happening in these messages. Alongside the fact that if you read the actual TikTok videos, you would have seen she was writing it like it was a fan fiction. Oh, and then my heart beat so fast, and then he said this. That kind of stuff lets you know. If you ever had a little brother and you ever hear them, or a little sister, or a little cousin, nephew, niece, whatever, when you hear them tell a story and they'll say, Mom, look at my cut. And then that parent says, well, what happened? He threw me into the desk. That's what they say, right? But then you dig it, like, you know, you were there, that's not actually what happened. They could have been poking you with an ear with a Tor sword. They could have been slapping you in the back of the head. There's mad other things that could happen. You may have reacted in a way that caused it, but the way they're shaping the story is that you maliciously pick them up, walk them over to the dresser, and bang them on the dresser. That's how they tell the story. But that's why certain people will leave out parts of the story. Like the text message that said, it was like, that's a passive aggressive way to reveal that you have cancer. There's a reason why she didn't put the message of her telling him she had cancer. Now I need y'all to imagine for a second. Close your eyes, think of this story. Imagine that message read something along the lines of, I just want you to know that you hurt me so bad in life, and I actually found out that I got cancer and I might be able to die soon, and I just want you to know before I go that this is how you had me feeling while I was still alive. Imagine if that was the message. You would look at that person and say the same thing, like, yo, I'm sorry you got cancer, dude. But what was all of that? All of that other stuff? People just wanted it to be like, oh, I see people like saying that he was wrong. It's only wrong if you reference it to what they actually said. But if somebody's ever telling a story, especially stories where they got screenshots, and you see parts of the story left out, there is a reason they are leaving those parts of the story out. Whenever somebody recalls a story, and on the internet, you'll see a lot of people who don't take accountability. They'll say, well, what does that matter? Tell the whole story and let people come to the conclusion that they want to come to. But you know what manipulators do? They tell the parts of the story they want to talk about because they know that's the best likelihood of that story being told and them getting the sympathy they want or the support they want. And they want to do everything that they can do to stop you from telling the missing pieces of the story, because people might then look at them in a light less than what they wanted to look at them in. Now, it's not saying that just because you tell the other parts of the story that that person now is wrong, or that person's now right and you're wrong because you told the story. But it gives people an accurate representation to be able to say, hey, okay, well, you know, I see why he shouldn't have took that far, but also you could have not did this, and then everybody's able to take their accountability the same way, or take their people are able to give constructive criticism that gives both people whatever accountability they need. But instead, people will tell a story and they'll say, yo, that part of the story doesn't matter. Well, if that part of the story doesn't matter and won't change things, then let's tell that part of the story. But they will never say, you know, okay, go ahead. Tell them the full story. So like the cancer thing, that should have set alarm bells off in people's head to say, okay, clearly something was said there that she purposely chose to crop out of the message. And whatever that was might have justified it, because if there was no reason for cutting it out, she would have put it in the message, right? And there's one last part of the Cory thing I wanted to talk about. It was I was actually talking to another YouTuber and they were like, why do you think that she chose now to do this? When some people have bad experiences from their perspective with you, they want people to feel the same way that they feel about you. They want those people to feel the same way. So I'm trying to think of an example I could give y'all. Say like you dated somebody, you're a sports player in your high school. You might have even cheated on your significant other in high school, right? But then you graduate, you go to the league or whatever sport you're playing in. Sometimes that person you cheated on in high school, what they're going to do is they're going to tell you get a contract, say you get married. They're going to say, well, you know, he's a cheater, right? Because of what their experience. Now that's a experience. You were wrong. You cheated. You were wrong. But they want everybody else to know how wrong you were, because they see people loving who you are now that they bring up other stuff. This is an example of one of those things. Whatever their experience was, she had a feeling about him. People are saying, "Oh my God, Cory's the GOAT. Cory, what was everybody saying? No scandal, Cory, and people love him." People look at that and they're like, no. I want you to feel how I feel about them. So now I'm gonna take whatever story I have, make a mashup of it, and give it to you, and hopefully that changes what you think of that person. And that's what will be happening, bro. Look, sometimes you just gotta sit back and watch what are people's intentions. If y'all ever watch me play Among Us, this is why I'm so good at Among Us, because once you see people it's easy to find out who the imposter is. 360 no scope them out the situation. Now, I'm not gonna stand on a stake and say there was nothing Cory could have done better or worse in these situations if he's a bad person. What I am going to say is, based on what people were told, what screenshots came out, none of them should have amounted to people jumping to the conclusion of what they jumped to. None of it. You know the maths test in school where the answers are like A 3, B 27, C 32, D not enough information. What that question is meant to show you is that even if you have some information, there are going to be some times where you don't have enough information to come to the conclusion of the possibilities. What people seen in this, they said, is Cory an abuser? Is he not? None of this information amounted to you being able to say one way or the other. Okay. Now, Cory might do a video. He showed the parts of the messages that were cut out. You might come to the conclusion, yo, Cory was not an abuser at all. She was just narcissistic. You might come to, listen, she might have been, what's another way I could say this? She might have been like, some people are just not good people. Let's be honest. They don't provide a way for you to have healthy environments with them. You might come to that conclusion. You might see more of the text messages and you might come to the conclusion that, yo, that thing she said, she was right. You might come to that conclusion. But with the information you were given, you cannot make a decision either way. And some people need to learn that the life is not about choosing sides. You don't have to choose a side until you can come to a conclusion that you feel is concrete. People want to jump the gun just so they don't get caught in the middle. Oh, cool. Like, there are people who I seen other YouTubers who if Cory stood next to them, they would be two-handed gawking away. I've seen it. I seen these YouTubers 10 minutes after these allegations hit, talking about some, yo, see, this is why you can't look up to people. This really, what those people are saying, the way I live, I could never be a role model. So don't look at anybody else as a role model. I think that's kind of weird to me. That you live in a way where people shouldn't be able to look at you and say, that's how I should live. That means you purposely do things that you know are negative, but you don't want the responsibility for the actions that you do. But anyway, back to what I was saying. People are they want to jump out there and pick a side. Oh, there's some people who said, yo, this can't be Cory. Those people, unless you know Cory personally, you wouldn't really know. You just kind of need to digest the situation. 10 minutes after you see something is not long enough to think about, no, and these aren't even, Samo said Twitter users are brain dead, no surprise. These people were not Twitter users. These people were they use Twitter. I use Twitter too. These people were other content creators that I know. If Cory walked into a room, they would be hurdling over people to take a picture a week ago. And you see a couple messages and some people cannot wait to see people look at in a good light. They cannot wait for people to be dragged back down to how they feel about themselves. That's what be happening. I feel like I'm not good enough to be a role model. The world found out you're not a role model either. Maybe I'm not that bad of a person. That's what really be going through people's head. And it's I think everybody, hey, BetterHelp promo code Big Holla. I don't got BetterHelp, but y'all, people got to go to therapy, bro. And I never knew how important therapy was, because my school since kindergarten had counselors and therapists inside of it. Anything happened, you go to the counselor. The counselor talk to you 15, 20 minutes. Counselor visit your classroom every quarter. Come stay in the classroom with you for the whole class for like an hour, observe, pull kids they think they need to talk to. That's what was going on in my schools. Okay. So maybe me growing up with access to therapy like that, I also have a blinded view of people who didn't have the access to that same thing. But I think people should look into therapy a little bit more to help them cope with the projection that they do about other people. People really need mental health to be on. Hey, it's true. You're taught about math, language arts, social studies. You go to PE, learn about physical education, mental education, knowing why your brain jumps to conclusions or works in the way that it works is very important for you to be able to navigate the world without the things outside of you manipulating exactly what goes on in your head. And I think But the YouTubers, when I seen all the YouTuber tweets coming out, it was nasty work. Not nasty, filthy, dirty work. I wanted to boot up a stream so bad, but I knew. Well, one, I was busy. Two, I just knew I was going to force some people to answer some questions they were not ready to really stand on. They put out a tweet. They made it vague. Cory's evil. That's what they did. Then now that the dust settled, I ain't see no tweets come back out from these people saying like, oh man, I jumped to conclusions. Oh, everybody's afraid to admit when they're wrong. Life would be so much easier if people could say, you know what? That thing I did, I was wrong for that. The way I handled that, I was wrong for those things I assumed. I was wrong for that. But I think to be that type of person also would stop some of these people from trudging forward and becoming the great creators that they be. Some people be great content creators because they lack that ability. But when it comes to real world things, people have to be able to say, you know what, I was wrong. I'm trying to think of something. What have I been wrong about? It's really hard to say about like public stuff because I don't really jump out the gate and say, I was wrong about Angel Reese is hooping. She looked like prime Michael Jordan right now. It's okay to be able to say that, but some people, they're so unwilling to say like, I was wrong about something. I was wrong about Angel Reese. I ain't gonna cap. She's cooking. She is cooking. Okay. What else have I been wrong about? I always try to go back to music. There was a time I didn't like Drake. I thought Drake was good first. Then there was a period of time where I didn't like Drake. Like nothing was the same era. Didn't really like Drake. But I came back around. All right. Holla moan. That's crazy. Moaning is crazy. The way she worded it makes me think Swift. That's a fact. But that's all I really wanted to say. I don't think there's too much else about the Cory situation that should be too crazy. Hopefully, he continues to make videos. I seen people canceling their orders to Monsters We Make. I seen people like threatening to like burn their copies. I was watching, and look how the world will prop you up, but they cannot wait to tear you back down to where they feel like they are. People applaud people because they feel like they're gonna get out of the situations that that y'all are all in. At the end of the day, let me tell you something, okay? No matter what box you feel like you're in, once you get out that box, there's just a bigger box, all right? So you wanting people to get forced back in that small box that you feel like you're in, they're still in a box somewhere. All right. You get out of the school system, you get a job. You get out of the regular job, you got entrepreneurship. You become a millionaire. Now people want you to save the world. You got to be now there's always going to be those boxes that have their own conflict in them, and everybody's dealing with conflict. But some people rather focus on other people's conflict than their own. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, I am taking counselors. If you would like to talk, we only charge $200 an hour. You know what I'm saying? Come on, come down to the big Holla. I'm just kidding, man. I do think I need to talk like this more on stream because it'll give people more of a personable version of the way I function in life. And I do think it can help people because I be letting these other people talk and they just be leading people down dead ends. I'm going to be honest. A lot of YouTubers, a lot of business people, people you see with a lot of money, a lot of them, they don't see people as anything other as a means to an end. But the people who reach the top are always the one who look at you for who you are. You know what I'm saying?